What the fuck is this? It's a fucking shirt. What the fuck is you doing? What the fuck is you doing? What the fuck is you doing? What you mean?
This bitch trying to break in the car.
How she trying to break in the car, man?
Break in the fucking
How
car.
the fuck is she trying to break in the car? If my car was at home, she wouldn't have been able to break in the
She's trying to
motherfucker.
break in the fucking car. I'm trying
Get
to
the
stop
fuck out of here. Are you serious?
What's you gonna tell me, man?
Sign this bitch doing what though?
What you talking about?
What are you doing with the crook? What are you doing with the crook?
What the fuck? Man, what the fuck? She holding me hostage. I can't do shit about
She
that.
holding you hostage naked, Myrie?
I'm not.
Really?
Dude,
She's putting her shit on.
She take my
What is you
clothes.
saying?
She was robbing me for my clothes and put her shit on. Fucking dummy.
Dog. No, you need to be on my camera.
Damn, man,
Because
you
I'm
know
sick of
what?
this cheating ass nigga. And I know all you bitches see this nigga cheating. I know y'all know he got a bitch. Weak ass nigga, you talking about she...
Cause you always say
Oh,
that
she broke in the car. You got a whole motherfucking shirt.
fucking
What is this shirt on the
It
window
was
for,
raining. I had to
man?
stop the fucking rain.
It's fucking sunny as a bitch. What you mean, girl? Don't. Where you going now?
Lose my number.
What the fuck is you talking about? You gonna let the thief go?
Am I gonna let the
You
thief
gonna
go?
fucking let the thief go?
So the thief got your number?
You said you was never intending to break up a scene this way, but there ain't any use in pretending it could happen to us any day. And how long has this been going on? 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 How long?
When I was young, I always thought that Christmas was just for kids. Now I get excited by it through my own kids.
The upside is, thinking of your kids sort of rushing in, a little patter of feet, rushing into their presents, and wrapping paper flying past your head. The downside is reading the instructions for some of those toys. Dad, you know what I'm talking about.
On the center of it, you can see where the body parts are located that myself and Kevin Gruber, who were part of the search party, what we located.
And let's flip to page 128. How would you describe Exhibit 128?
What I had found for human remains.
Okay, just a closer up view.
Correct.
And at this point, did you think it was one leg, two legs, or something else?
I didn't stick around long enough to figure it out
Sure. And why was that?
because it's gross.
Fair enough. Exhibit 129, is that just a further zoomed in view?
Correct.
We found her legs. One complete leg, then somewhat farther away in another bush, a foot, a thigh, crudely cut apart with appears to be handsaws, axes, things of that sort. No more of Krista Halderson that's identifiable to her will ever be found. She's just those two legs. Chandler really liked this location out on the Wisconsin River. He'd go there all the time. It's where he'd go swimming. When his friends came into town, that was the secret swimming spot. And one friend even said, you know what? Last year he sent me a picture while he was out there. Kind of shirtless, hanging from a tree with a machete. I don't know. Didn't have a lot of significance at the time when the police saw it, but eventually someone realized, the tree looks unique. And eventually one of the detectives realizes why. Something clicked. It was the exact location he ditched his mother's remains. This kid was standing in his front lawn giving media interviews to all the local media outlets about the cabin and the unknown couple and the unknown car. He was going door to door in his neighborhood. My parents are missing. Can you help me out? Do you have any security cameras, by the way? But while he's doing this that morning, what's he Googling? Body found, Wisconsin. Woman's body found, Wisconsin. Wisconsin dismembered body found. Dead body found in Wisconsin. Body found in Milwaukee River. He's starting to search because he's starting to get worried because the amount of police in his neighborhood has been ramping up and up and up because unbeknownst to him, they're finding his parents' remains.
A little confused.
I got 2 squads parked right outside my house, and they're not really canvassing. They're just kind of sitting there. Is everything all right?
Yeah, I mean, they're in the area doing canvassing, and they're also probably doing a shift change right now, getting our second shift crew on around 3:30.
Oh, there's 4 now. Something going on that we need to know?
Well, they're probably doing reports. They're probably doing shift change.
Any news about that blue house with the big cameras?
The blue house with the big cameras. Is that the one across the street?
Yeah, across the street, kind of in the corner. It's a newer house.
I haven't talked to...
I stopped by their house.
Now, when I started, and I said the police were initially thrown off because of one thing, and that was this text message from Krista. And it's real. Made it safely. Can't get anything through, though. Yes, it's packed. Going to White Lake today for the parade. Be home Monday night, Tuesday. Love you lots. Sent on the 4th of July. So the police started looking into that. And the first thing they found was White Lake. The parade was on July 3rd. Remember, the 4th of July this year was on a Sunday. So everyone celebrated on Saturday. And in the garage, under a shelf, in a shoe, wrapped in aluminum foil, was his mother's phone, along with her driver's license. That message on July 4th, Krista there is in pink, Chandler's in green. The message was sent from the Halderson home on July 4th. Chandler sent it to himself. How does this kid, with everything in the world going for him, promising new jobs, school, a girlfriend that loves him, willing to move across the country for him, how does this happen? It happens because none of these things are true. He wasn't going to Madison College.
The WNA withdrew with no attempt, meaning that if the class was withdrawn sometime, I think it's the first 10 days of the course.
And then going into fall of 2020, mostly withdrawn with a couple Fs there, correct?
Correct.
So after the fall of 2020, he was not a student there any longer from what you're able to glean from all these documents?
Correct. I believe the end of that semester was January 18th or so.
And so we'd have to go back to the spring of 19 when he got a C in something called project management to find the last class where any credits were earned?
That's what I'm seeing.
He wasn't studying renewable resource engineering. The people at American Family Insurance, they'd never even heard of him.
I found no record of that person working for American Family.
What about as one of their contractors? Did you research that?
I did as well, and we found no record of that person working as a contractor.
There's no indication he'd ever even applied for a job, much less had any job at SpaceX. The apartment he told his girlfriend he'd rented and the car he'd bought, none of that was real. The Madison police, they don't even have a scuba diving team.
Does the DNR have a dive team?
No.
Does the Madison police have a scuba diving rescue team?
No.
Has someone named Chandler Halderson ever been employed by the Madison police to your knowledge?
No.
And this concussion he apparently suffered, he did go to the hospital. You'll hear from the doctor who was there. He said, yeah, he came in, he reported that he hit his head falling down the stairs.
The patient had some residual neck pain, so he was given a collar to go home with for support with instruction to follow up with his primary care physician and with the spine team that was on call.
At any point, did you give Mr. Halderson directions that he had to wear it for a certain amount of time?
I did not specifically give him that information, no.
Did you tell him he was going to experience paralysis?
No, ma'am.
At any point during your time with Mr. Halderson, did you tell him that he had a brain bleed?
No, ma'am.
At any point during your appointment with Mr. Halderson, did you at any point tell him that he had a brain aneurysm?
No, ma'am.
At any point, did you tell him that he had nerve damage?
I don't believe so, no, ma'am.
At any point, did you tell him he had a spinal injury?
No, I don't believe so.
At any point, did you tell him that he should not drive?
I don't believe so, no.
At any point, did you ever say that he shouldn't drive long distances?
No, ma'am.
At any point, did you tell him that he had a hematoma in his brain?
No, ma'am, I did not.
At any point, did you tell him that he would have an inability to use his legs in a normal manner?
No, ma'am.
At any point, did you tell him, because of his mild concussion, that he was going to have a colostomy bag?
No, ma'am.
At any point in time, did you have to drill a hole into his head?
No, ma'am.
At any point in time, did you tell him that he was going to have surgery where a hole would be drilled in his head?
No, ma'am.
Given what you're going to find out in this case, you may conclude at the end of it, he never suffered any fall at all. What you may conclude is that it was all made up. Police started looking into all of these lies. Because how does a person who looks so promising, was able to convince so many people of his success, how are you able to keep this up? And they started to find things around the Halderson home, in the email accounts of Bart and Krista Halderson, in the email accounts of Chandler Halderson. So roughly a week later, when Chandler Halderson needs to think of a new lie to get out of the SpaceX lie, guess who ends up in the hospital? Being doted over by his mother and his family with a supposed neck injury. This is Father's Day of this year, in late June. That's Bart Halderson in the middle, Mitchell on the right. And of course, Chandler wearing a neck brace that no one told him he had to wear on the left. He had a brain bleed, a hematoma, that he had spinal damage, that he needed his head drilled open, that he inability to use his legs at all. Couldn't drive. People had to do that for him. That he had nerve damage, that he needed to get a colostomy bag. But most importantly, he couldn't go to Florida. The doctors had told him he couldn't fly.
At any point, did you advise him that he should not fly in an airplane?
No, ma'am.
So suddenly this man, who was, for all intents and purposes, disabled, was being doted over by his family. This guy who was wearing a neck brace nearly every day in late June would have no problem just days later carrying large bags of ice out of gas stations to chill his father's cut-up body in a freezer. And you'll note, no neck brace. And in fact, you'll note in this case, Chandler Halderson has never seen a neck brace again after July 1st, 2021. So the job lies are over for Chandler in his life. American Family Insurance, don't worry about that because he got this new job at SpaceX. In SpaceX, I can't go because I'm hurt. It was a perfect scenario. But there was one last lie that Chandler had to get out of. And that is he had told everyone he was going to MATC for college and that he was about to graduate. There's no way out of this one. You can't get out of this lie. And so the next day, Chandler Halderson wakes up on July 1st and starts messaging his girlfriend. 7:26, I hardly slept. 7:27, stuff hasn't been going well for me lately. Just trying to plan for the next thing to fuck me over. 7:51, I had a great future planned. It's falling apart. 1:04, just 2 hours prior to the murders. I overheard they might go to the cabin with their friends, but I don't know. Now, shortly after this message, Bart Halderson's getting ready to go to MATC for this meeting. Bart texts Chandler, I'm ready whenever you are. That's about 50 minutes prior to when he was killed. Those are the last words ever recorded of Bart Halderson. The neighborhood he lives in, riddled with security cameras, never see him again. And after shooting his dad, Chandler texts his mom. Dad's phone died. Text her, call me. And get sewed on your way home. I have an extra hour of work. She responds, K, I can, smiley face. Those are the last words of Krista Halderson alive. Neighborhood security cameras, the Haldersons didn't have one, but the neighborhood, a lot of people did. Show Krista pulling in, getting out of the car, walking in. She's never seen again until her legs are found out by the Wisconsin River. That night, what appears to have happened is Mr. Halderson took items from around the house and began cutting apart his parents. Saw blades covered in Bart and Krista's blood. An axe, Bart and Krista's blood. Hand saws, things of that sort, covered in Bart and Krista's blood. He cleaned the house as best he could, and you'll hear about that. But still, blood spatter found of Bart and Krista's blood around the house. And he had a plan. And that was he was going to burn the remains in the family fireplace there in the house. So it's July 1st, and if any of you remember, 4th of July weekend's pretty hot this year. People in the neighborhood thought it was a little bit weird that so much fireplace was going on. They smelled stuff.
About 5 minutes or so later, all of a sudden that odor of burning wood became a distinct odor that was more like in the line of what I thought someone was like barbecuing a large pork, like in one of these large barbecue pits or whatever that can hold a whole pork. Kind of became real strong and kind of like a pungent smell, to the point that I actually walked down my driveway half the distance and kind of looked up and down the street to see if anybody was doing anything like grilling or something else was going on, and I didn't see anything at that point. It was something burning of a meat or fats or something.
And that night, a neighbor who had a security camera behind the Halderson home, way far away, was able to catch something. Because it was pitch black at night, he was able to catch just a little glimpse of all the windows in the Halderson house. We have an expert that's going to come in who works with video and light analysis. And he's going to tell you, he was able to figure out which window that was. It was the window by the fireplace. And for many hours over the course of that night, the light flickered. But in the early morning hours the next day, he'd been up all night doing this. Because you'll learn, you really can't burn human remains. Your home fireplace is not going to get hot enough to do that. But eventually, in the middle of the night, the fire started going well. But that light at one point grew and grew and grew, and it got very bright in one room. And then all of a sudden, the kitchen light came on, and then all the lights went out. I don't know if anyone's ever taken a hot Pyrex pan out of the stove and put water in it, but it explodes the glass. The evidence in this case will show that what happened was the fire had gotten out of control, burning these human remains. Human fat was rendering out. It was igniting. So Chandler threw water on it. But when you throw water on your residential fireplace, you break the glass. And that's exactly what happened. Just above that broken glass panel, which is clearly shattered, you see the paint kind of bubbled off from the heat. But what stuck out to police right away was that little rock right there.
It smells like barbecued pork oftentimes, or the grease that you would get from barbecuing a pork shoulder. And this is the smell that I associated with what I was gathering from inside that fireplace when I was down in front of it and working near it. I would not be able to make a determination while there if it was human bone or non-human bone.
Do you rely on another expert to make that determination?
I do indeed.
So this is actually that little piece of bone that you guys saw in that other picture. This is consistent with cranial bone, or bone from the skull. We found a total of 106 fragments of bone that were able to be identified. From those 106, 53 of them were considered to be on the cranium. When I'm saying cranium, I'm talking about skull and also mandible. And then we were able to identify 18 of them as hands, part of the hands, 24 of them as dental fragments, and 8 of them as vertebrae, and 3 of them as long bones. In addition to that, I had 124 fragments that I know they're bone, but I was unable to identify them. So we had a grand total of 230 bones, fragmented bones that were found, again, inside the fireplace, on the grate, and also on the ash disposal area.
My mother always took Anacin. So do I. It's one of the few things we ever agreed on.
Anacin, doctor recommended for effective pain relief.
A couple of Anacin and the pain's gone. Fast.
Doctor recommended Anacin.
The alleged murder-for-hire plot that went viral.
There were shots fired.
Cameras rolling as South Florida police tell Dalia DiPolito a big, bold lie.
Is your husband Michael? Okay, I'm sorry to tell you, man. He's been killed.
But investigators say her reaction is a lie, too. Because days earlier, Dalia was caught on camera allegedly hiring an undercover cop to kill Mike, her husband of just 6 months.
You know, he gets 2 in the head. That's it.
I'm positive, like 5,000% sure.
They hustled Dalia off to this interrogation room for questioning. Another recorded moment.
Are you sure that you don't know anybody who want to kill your husband? You wouldn't want to kill him, I hope. Not at all.
It's almost like something out of Law and Order.
There's no more games with you and I. Now we're going to get down to serious business. I want to know if you know this guy. Come here.
They bring in Officer Witty Jean, the supposed hitman from the car.
Get over here. You know who this guy is?
No,
You've never seen him before?
I've never seen him before.
She just stared at him. She said she didn't know him.
And then call it a resurrection.
Oh my God!
He's alive.
Police have another surprise for Dahlia DiPolito.
Here, please, come here. Mike, come here.
She sees her husband, and he's alive.
The show Cops captures this moment as well.
Come here, please, come here. Why not? I didn't do anything to you. Mike, come here, please.
You're going to jail today for solicitation of murder. You're under arrest.
I didn't do anything.
Did you hear what I just told you?
You kept saying, I didn't do anything.
Please, I didn't do anything.
Was that all you could think of to say?
They were accusing me of trying to have my husband killed, and I didn't.
Didn't do anything? What about the hitman? What about all those tapes?
Nobody's gonna be able to point a finger at me.
Did you want your husband dead?
No, absolutely not.
Did you hire a hitman to kill your husband?
No.
You know, he gets two in the head. That's it.
Who is Dahlia DiPolito?
Understanding, sweet, and compassionate.
A lot tougher than what I look. I know you see me and you're like, oh, what a cute little girl, whatever. You know, but I'm not.
At her trial, Dahlia's defense attorney arguing Mike wasn't the victim of anything, but instead an accomplice in a scheme to launch them both into stardom.
It was a stunt. It was a hoax to capture the attention of someone in reality TV.
According to Dahlia, she and Mike together became obsessed with reality TV.
He said they could do it. There's no reason why, we can't do it.
The jurors deliberated for just 90 minutes before returning with a guilty verdict.
Little bear, I got your toothpaste. Orgel's trained toothpaste.
Very good.
Mommy thinks so too.
Origel's safe to swallow, fluoride-free, and has great flavors.
Have some.
Origel, what moms want and kids.
You should thank me, because these cuffs are a lot more comfortable than the other cuffs.
Okay, well, I don't know what the heck is going on, but, I don't have a driver's license.
You don't need one to get into here. Maybe it's the alcohol. You think? See, look how much better that is. Your hands aren't behind your back anymore.
I know, but what?
So you should thank me.
What? Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. You don't like me, do you?
No, not right now.
Okay. Come on, ma'am. Come over here. Why don't you take that row all the way down to the last chair? Be nicer to the medical staff, though. They can help you more than me. She don't like me. I think she just wants to be left alone.
How long have you been drinking for?
For what?
How long have you been drinking for?
I've been drinking a 6-pack.
6 beers and you can't open your eyes? There you go. Using illegal drugs, including marijuana.
No,
How often do you drink?
every day.
Are you going to go through withdrawals?
No. Are you done?
I'm done with you. I'm done asking you questions.
Where are you going? She's not happy. The female you brought in, what was her story?
We went to a report of an occupied stolen vehicle. As I arrived from the north, the driver of this female saw my patrol vehicle, backed up at a high rate of speed, almost hitting the officers on the bicycles, turned westbound through the complex, got out to Koval, caused a vehicle accident with 2 other vehicles, and then she rolled northbound back into the apartment complex and more or less crashed into the first parking stall. After about a 15-minute standoff with her, we got air unit and canine and a ballistic shield. Finally, she started listening to verbal commands, exited the vehicle, and we were able to take her into custody.
It's a little bit more than just a...
And now we come to find out that, the information she's given us is wrong. Her name and date of birth are wrong. We have a good ID number for her finally, as well as a social security number.
So what's the black stuff on her face?
That's from the pavement. She tried to fight the officers when we took her into custody, and she kind of lost that battle. So.
Wow. All right, guys.
All right,
hey,
thanks
a lot.
No worries.
Why are you so angry?
This is not everybody's staring at me like this is some kind of
because you're yelling.
Well, everybody should mind their own business and do what the they gotta do and let me go.
Well, if you'd stop.
Because I have not did a mother thing around here.
Ma'am, maybe.
I'm sick and tired of this.
Ma'am, maybe if you'd stop yelling, they wouldn't look at you. Just
now everyone is looking at you.
Great.
The last person that did that, they were sorry.
Ma'am, settle down.
I apologize.
Thank you. Just tone it down. We're gonna work through this
All
together.
you gotta do is close your eyes, sit back here and relax. Remember,
You guys looking at?
no one's looking at you.
I'm gonna let you try to relax for a little bit, okay? I can't have you freaking out like this. Do you want to tell me what happened when you got brought in?
It's all drinking and driving. It's
Were you
all right there on my ticket.
Were you celebrating tonight? What were you celebrating?
Celebrating the victory
Of?
of love.
Of love?
Yeah.
Are you in a relationship?
No, I wish I was.
Well, that shouldn't be too hard for you, right? All right.
Perfection.
Okay, I'm just gonna put these back on. Relax,
my
relax.
goodness.
I know, it's such a pain.
Okay, I'm like, why are you
Relax,
putting
relax.
these handcuffs on me so tight?
You know why, ma'am? Because you're in
Why?
jail. Stop fighting me. You're in jail right now. You have to have these on you. Now, do you want your...
Lord Jesus Christ.
Do you want your hands behind your back and
No,
handcuffs?
I
or to
don't
the side?
understand why.
Why are you yelling at me? I'm right here. Am I yelling at you?
No.
So that's not very nice, is it? Be nice.
I'm trying to be nice.
I can see you're trying to, but try a little harder for me. I have not come at you at all.
Okay.
All right.
I understand.
Okay. Now, are you feeling a little bit better since you got brought
Yes,
in?
I am.
Okay. I don't think you're not. I don't know. It's something about you and alcohol. It's not you.
I know. I'm just tired. I'm ready to go.
Why don't you just go have a seat in the back row? Look how angry she is.
Seat right here in the front row, okay?
Okay, let's go into the next room. All right, go ahead and place your back up against the wall right here. That's what I got for you, okay? This is a copy of your charges. Being charged with grand larceny auto, possession of stolen vehicle, and false info to a PO. All right, there's your bill right here, $3,200. Have a seat in the second row with the other girls. Listen for your name to be called. Okay? Try to be cool in here though, okay? Because you're halfway through the process now. You don't want to end up in a cell.
Okay.
All right, go ahead and have a seat.
Good luck to you.
Here comes the one, the game is just won. Heinz is the big rich one. There's only one ketchup with this flavor pouring on. So big, so rich, so second to none.
Only one ketchup stands for this kind of thickness with this kind of taste. Heinz.
Heinz is the big rich one.
Ketchup lovers, now try Heinz in the 64-ounce plastic bottle.
She caught herself on camera setting the fire.
Del City fire officials releasing surveillance pictures shot with the alleged arsonist's own camera. It all started last week. Fire crews battling huge flames in the garage of this Del City home. Police noticed cameras in one of the home's yards. 59-year-old Annie Durham giving investigators permission to look at her footage, where it turns out she had a starring role, allegedly throwing something on fire over her fence into the neighbor's open side door. But the story gets even more bizarre. News 4 talked to Durham that day, moments after the fire was put out.
All I know, I was in the house and I saw smoke, but I was like, okay, maybe everything's okay, they'll put it out or whatever.
Fire officials anxious to take a look at the person we talked to.
We could easily be talking about a firefighter fatality.
Durham arrested, facing second-degree arson charges.
I've been in business with this for over 30 years.
So we decided to see what would happen when we asked a psychic detective to help solve a missing persons case. Posing as the distraught brother of a missing child, we sent our producer, Charlie McElravy, to meet with Lori McQuarrie.
Hi, how are you? Very nice to meet you, Lori.
We showed her a photo of this missing girl, and she agreed to take the case for $400.
But I think it's solvable.
But what Lori didn't know was that the photo our producer gave her was actually a childhood photo of me. And obviously, I'm very much alive.
I don't believe she's alive. I'm sorry. I believe that it was a violent passing.
McQuarrie's sixth sense told her the girl was brutally murdered and sexually assaulted.
I think she was hit in the head with a rock.
But her visions didn't end there.
I think she can be brought home.
Pointing to a remote spot on this map, she even said she could help bring her body home.
Maybe even a mile or two from there.
The next day, McQuarrie sat down for an interview with me to talk about the work of psychic detectives.
I just had a gentleman in yesterday. 30 years ago, his sister disappeared.
She soon began talking about a recent case, but clearly her psychic abilities didn't tell her that I was the girl in the picture.
One of the first things I do in a case, Lisa, is I always make sure people know that if I feel the person is living or not.
So you'll always know,
Yes.
when you talk to a family member, when you start a case, you'll know if this person is dead or
Yes.
alive.
And that's the point, is that
Every time.
Yes.
But apparently her psychic abilities didn't see this coming.
Lori, I'm going to show you something.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes.
Does this girl look familiar to you?
Yes, she does. I worked this case.
This is a girl who you said was beaten and killed.
Okay.
This little girl is me. And you told somebody that she's dead.
Wait a minute. You didn't disappear?
I'm right here.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it?
How do you explain being completely
I can't
wrong?
explain it. I can't explain it.
You're charging them hundreds of dollars.
You know what, dear?
Hundreds of dollars. You're taking advantage of
Okay.
desperate people with a bunch of hocus pocus, aren't you?
No, I'm not. I think we'll go. Thank you. It's been an interesting experience. You all have a lovely, lovely evening.